welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back to that same old place that you laughed about. Well, the names have all changed since you hung around, but those dreams have remained.
Hi friends, welcome to another episode of Cooking Across Cultures on the Road. We are here today at Watecha with chef and owner Lawrence West. Lawrence, can you tell us what we have in front of us here today?
Absolutely. World's delicious, most best tasting fry bread, of course, obviously, with some Watecha and 2 delicious Indian tacos.
All right. So I guess we're just gonna dig in, and then maybe you can explain to us what fry bread is and what Watecha is, and just kind of how this came about.
Absolutely. Essentially, fry bread is a food that came about or was created during a troublesome time, I guess, amongst Native American people. It was really derived from the Trail of Tears. So the long drive north, when the troops went in the south and they pushed the Navajo and the people out and really took the resources, they killed the crops, killed the animals, and gave them government stipend, essentially, like things that they thought would cause them bad health and would kill them off. So like flour, lard, sugar, and essentially that's the people created fry bread. And that's kind of like what I pride myself on, is being a native street food chef. I cook South Dakota soul food, urban street food. So that's why I choose to cook fry bread. But Watecha is it's a pretty traditional dish. It's like one of the oldest dishes of our people, and it's simply just a fruit puree. You simply take fruit and you heat it at low temperatures and you mash it, and then the starch level and the sugar level in the fruit causes it to thicken over a course of time. And then when it thickens, then and you serve it hot. You don't let it cool down, like it's served hot.
So Watecha can be eaten even with like meats and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's delicious with meat.
Yeah,
it brings out the flavor. And then Indian tacos are just, they're Indian tacos. So.
Can you tell us a little bit more about, I guess, why you chose, or why it's so important to have Indian food showcased and displayed, and I guess even as such a huge part of the Sioux Falls community? Well,
the main thing is there wasn't that representation. That's what ultimately set me out on my journey. It's just not there. It's not there in like a small faction. It's not there in a major faction. And most of the time, like when people are introduced to Indian tacos in South Dakota, it's from people that are not Native American. You know what I mean? It's not done traditionally. And fry bread is different. Don't get me wrong. Anybody can cook fry bread, but if you've ever had fry bread before and then you eat this fry bread, there's a major difference. So there's a right way and there's a wrong way to do it. But fry bread is made different ways. So like in the South, they make fry bread with corn flour. So it's a lot more like dense and grainy, and it's not as sweet. It's more like a bland bread. And then so they use like a lot of beans and chilies and like lamb meat and things like that, as to where like a northern Indian taco, which is the original Indian taco, is made with wheat flour, and we don't use beans or chilies or anything like that because we're from the prairie. So we use beef, buffalo, and then just fresh prairie vegetables that you can get.
Yeah. So how did you get into cooking?
Well, I got in trouble a lot as a kid, and I had to sit in the kitchen with the grandmas. So, I've cooked all my life. It's noted. I'm not a trained chef by any means necessary. Like, I just cook. I've always cooked. I've been around cooking. I love cooking. I love being in the kitchen. Just plants amaze me. You know, the flavors, like the smells, just creating. Like, I love to like take cultures and just mash them and put them on a plate, and then just like see the smile on people's face when they eat it, you know. But I guess if I had to say why I cook, it'd just be to honor my grandmas, really.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm sure they're very proud of you. I actually heard that y'all just celebrated your 3-year anniversary, so congratulations.
Thank you.
What does that mean to you, and I guess where do you want to see your restaurant go from here on out?
Well, I mean, that's a deep question, because the things like what my restaurant represents, like, before any other Native American food restaurant was in the country, there was Watecha Bowl. I was the first person to do this, you know?
That's huge.
So it's like, I mean, I have so many goals and ambitions and aspirations to put my business in, you know, like, but I guess the simplest answer is I honestly don't know, you know what I mean? Because like, it's so small in its infancy, and I don't know what's possible, you know? Like, I just know that I will continue to, you know, push my mission, push my food, like feed people, you know, like that's all I intend to do is feed more people, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And that actually reminds me, I know you do a lot in the community just to feed others and things like that. Can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that, the reason why we do things like that is another reference to my grandmother. My grandmother, like, she was like a math teacher, and she was Jim Borglum's, who is the great grandson of the guy who built Mount Rushmore. So she was his personal nanny for 63 years. But my grandmother was an all-around grand champion dancer. She danced in every powwow all over the world, Spain, America, everywhere, and she's placed. She was in National Geographic in 1943. And my grandmother had a lot of respect, and she like carried the family lineage, you know. And so when we were kids, we would go out, and my grandma would, you know, buy 100 cheeseburgers, and we'd go down to the falls and just like feed people, you know, and talk to them, and like she would explain like how we're related. So my approach on why I do things like that is simply based off of that ideal, you know, mitaku, y'all say. We're all related, you know. It doesn't matter if I know you. The Native American people, we come from one ecosystem, you know, like they're my people, they're my relatives. If they're older than me, they're my grandpa. If they're, you know, they're my cousin. Like, as a business owner, as a person in my position, it's my obligation to take care of my community, whether they're young warriors or old leaders, it doesn't matter. Like, I do it for my grandmas. But traditionally, wojapi is made with cherries. And so what the people would do, like harvest time for choke cherries is late July through early September. Like, it's a very short window to get them with the correct flavor, because before then they're just way too bitter, and after they taste like rotten grapes.
Yeah.
So you have to get them in that like peak harvest time, and then they're just like, you can't really explain the flavor, but they have a lot of seeds in them, and they're little cherries. So traditionally what they did was they took the choke cherries and then they stone grinded them, and then they made the patties. And then they would put the patties in the freezer, or they would refrigerate them, or however they wanted to preserve them over the course of time, you know, because they've been making choke cherry wojapi way before General Electric invented Frigidaire, you know. So I mean, people preserved choke cherries and wild plums and buffalo berries and, you know, all the plains berries. They would grind them and preserve them, and then that way, like in the wintertime when there's no harvest, you could go in and get your choke cherry chunks, you know, and you make your wojapi, and again, it's just simply fruit, you know. You take your choke cherries and you add water, and you just like mash them and thicken it.
Something that crossed my mind as I was listening to you talk about the wajabi and even the Indian tacos is how Native people are really good at like utilizing their resources, and just how, you know, this is made just from like fruits of the land. Can you talk a little bit more about that and maybe how that has influenced maybe all of the food for the culture?
So traditionally, like, Native American food didn't have like pork and chicken and dairy and, you know, the things of that nature. So like what we ate came from the land, you know, bugs and tree bark and fruits and leaves and dandelions and squashes and only things that we could harvest from the land, you know. But amongst our people, we're all raised, you know, and this is a story that I heard like when we were younger, you know, because like we grew up at the tail end. Like I went to boarding school in the 80s, you know, but that was like towards the end of the assimilation when like America was coming, you know, into their senses, where Native American people essentially had equal and essential rights. But before, you know, like when my mom and my grandparents in that era, when they were, you know, taking like Native American people from, you know, their homes and they were putting them in schools and stuff, like the preachers and whatever, like they would get mad at the people because the Native American people would be like out talking to the plants, you know. And as like settlers and Americans, like they didn't understand why the Native American people talk to the plants, you know, like they think like, oh, you just water it. If the sun is good, your plant's gonna grow. If the sun is bad, your plant's not gonna grow. That's not the way that us as Native Americans believe, you know, like we believe that if we use something or we take something, it's for a purpose and we give thanks, like we're one, you know, a Watecha, a spiritual holiness. So like if we want our plant to grow, then we talk to our plant, you know. And it's like the preachers and the settlers and the people, like they attach the word praying, you know. But as Native American people, our way of life, it's not a religion. It's not something that we actively go out of body to do. It's not something that's scheduled. We don't go on Sunday. It's like we're connected with every living thing, like everything that's going on around us, like all the time. And it's like in our DNA. If you got Native blood in you, like it's in your DNA. So that's, I mean, but that's like the connection is because like we give before we take, you know, like we give to the earth before we take offering, you know.
I love that.
And then we cook it, and then we make it, and then we put the prayer into it, and then we Watecha. So Watecha is the act of, traditionally speaking, Watecha is the act of taking food home, like potluck style, and sharing the prayer with your family.
Oh.
But like in today's day and age, like with the watered down years of the language, it's leftovers, you know, Watecha is leftovers. But the traditional sense of it is the prayer that goes into the potluck food, which is then dispersed and then brought into your home and shared with the individual families.
I love that. I love that. I would have never thought to even ask you what Watecha means, but I love that. And I think that speaks a lot to who you are in the community. Again, when you do like you call it a feed, yeah, right? Around Thanksgiving. Yeah. And then even how you were talking about earlier with the way that you just cook whatever, like you don't have a specific menu, you just cook whatever, and then people come in and they share it and things like that. So I think that's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, some people put lines and guidelines, and like I guess there is in the traditional sense, but like I said, I'm not a trained business owner, I'm not a trained chef. Like I do this from my heart, so whatever I feel that day, that's what goes into my food. That's what goes into what I represent. It just so happens that I'm one of the lucky ones that get to, you know, write my own story.
Yeah, that's so great. I love that.
For our next segment, we're going to be getting to know Lawrence. Lawrence, what is your favorite color?
Blue.
What is the best city that you visited?
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Really? Why?
It's so beautiful. Are you crazy?
I haven't been there before, but I hear that it's growing a lot.
Charlotte is gorgeous.
I have
What
to
about
go.
it? Is it like the scenery or
Yeah,
the
oh my
environment?
God, it's just like green everywhere, like beautiful, like old time structures, like flowers. I mean, it's a well kept city. I mean, there's water running through it. There's just so much to do. It's clean. It's just beautiful. The vibe there is good. The people are dope. I don't know. I just like it there.
Growing up, you said that you were a little rowdy. Were you outgoing as a kid, or?
I've very much always been who I am today. Since I was a small child, absolutely.
So confident, outgoing,
Yeah.
All of that,
enthusiastic.
absolutely.
Yeah.
All of those things.
All of
Wow.
those things.
Damn, your parents had a handful.
Absolutely, yes. There was 5 of us.
Oh, wow.
And were they all like that too?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're all the same. I'm my brother's keeper. We are all the same.
So do your siblings like help you with the restaurant at all?
From time to time, my one brother, he has a dog transport business, and then my little brother is a aluminum welder, and then he has his beadwork business. So I used to have a store called Studio 1491, which was like a Native American trading post. So that's what my little brother's working on recreating this year.
Okay.
He'll actually pick up that legacy and then reopen Studio 1491. And it'll happen right there where the original Studio 1491
Really?
was. Oh yeah. So that's what we'll do when we'll remodel over there. Like it'll get painted and mirrors and everything, but it'll be like a gift shop. And we'll sell like, we work with like a lot of locals, you know? So we sell like honey, soap, blankets, just beadwork, quill work, you know, all beads, just dry fry bread mix, just all kinds of stuff.
I want to say congratulations on the expansion of Watecha Bowl. The
Thank
first
you.
time we came here, it was like, you know, just a small space, and so I'm loving seeing that it's grown so much. And you seem like somebody that has such like grand and ambitious ideas. Like, where do you think that comes from?
Well, I mean, I work very hard, and I take a lot of pride in the fact that I'm a sovereign Native American business. So I've been debt-free my entire journey.
Oh, that's
You know,
great.
like I've never been to a bank, no loans, no PPPs, no tribal money, no grant money. Like, I carry my own water, you know? And it's like, the things that I create, like I started selling Indian tacos 5 years ago at my mom's rummage sale out of a 10 by 10 square foot tin, you know what I mean? So it's like in 5 years and in that time being the first ever, you know what I mean? It's like, obviously I want to put my best foot forward, and it's like I get to be the juggernaut. I get to be the person that gets to go out every day and fail. You know, like I look forward to that, you know? Like I want to go out every day and do the most. I want to be on 10. I want to max out. I want to be on everybody's nerves. Like I want to represent, like I want to push my message, you know? And that's why like it's so important that I remain in that faction, because I don't want to be censored. I don't want to be silenced. Like, I don't push an objective or an agenda, but on my own platform, I do, you know? And that's why I maintain it that way. I keep it that way, you know? It's like, I go along to get along, and that's just because, like, the way of the world is the way of the world, you know? But eventually, over the course of time, the things that I do will inspire change, and not just in my community, amongst the minority community, you know, like, period.
That's wonderful. So from all the lessons that you've learned, what is one grand piece of advice you would give to not just your community, but other minority communities in South Dakota?
Man, you just got to do it. You got to dive. It doesn't matter. Like, failure is what makes greatness, you know? Like, no person that ever went out and did anything great just, like, went out and was like, hey, this is going to be great, you know? Like, you know, like, there's tears and there's anger and there's sadness and there's poorness and there's, you know, there's struggle and there's sacrifice and there's, you know, like, there's all of these things are take to make greatness, you know, great people, great relationships. At the end of the day, it's like the world moves so fast, and the people that are making moves aren't people my age, you know, they're younger people that have that disconnect as far as like accessibility and accountability and culture and responsibility and respect. You know, like I live based off the teachings that my grandfather passed down to me, you know, like, and these were things that were taught to me in the home. I've been a man since a real young age, you know. It's like you see grown people out here now, you know, like 32 years old, like living at your mom's house, you know, and it's like none of that is realistic, you know. So if you have a goal or you have something that you want or you have something that's like out there, just go get it. Like, you're gonna fail. If regardless if you sit there, you're still gonna fail. If you get out and you go, you're gonna fail. But failure is a part of winning. You gotta lose. You gotta lose. You gotta know that, and you gotta do it with a smile on your face. Like, if I was mad every time I lost, bro, I would just be mad all the time.
You're right about that, for sure. Anything else you want to say, or anything you want our viewers to know?
I mean, at the end of the day, what we're doing here is instrumental, you know, and in 10 years when I have 2,000 Watecha bowls all over the country,
yeah,
you know, we can come back and look at this, you know, and just remember it, because that's what's most important, is just like remembering the journey. It moves fast, it goes too fast, you know, like there's nothing to it. You just cook the food, you know, you be nice to the people. I mean, I'm just happy to be here. I'm grateful to be here.
Absolutely.
Hi, it's my first time here. I can say that I will definitely be back.
Come and eat at Watecha Bowl because it reminds me of home. The owner here, Lawrence, is from my reservation. I know where his fried bread recipe comes. I know the elders who used to make it, and it's just the same. And so it warms my heart every time I come here to eat, because all of the stories of my own grandmothers making fried bread come back to me.
Well, roadies, that's all for this episode of Cooking Across Cultures on the Road. Special thanks to Lawrence for having us today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content and behind-the-scenes looks at some of the best restaurants in Sioux Falls. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye!